Hello, friend. You're listening to a God-led conversation for real life. I'm Coach Queen Lisa, and today I want to talk about what it actually means to be led by God when you're building a ministry. When you're trying to help people, and when you're also trying to live a regular life with responsibilities, pressure, and questions. I know. So I'm here to answer any questions you have and the way you're thinking, but don't always say it out loud. When someone says a God-led business, what does this mean? On a Thursday afternoon when you do your to-do list is loud and your faith feels quiet? That's the question, because God-led can sound like a spiritual headline, but most of the time it's a series of small decisions. It's not always a booming voice. Sometimes it's God closing a door you really wanted open. Sometimes it's peace that doesn't match the situation, and sometimes it's a conviction that gently but firm nudge and won't leave you alone. Okay, so if you're someone listening right now and thinking, I don't hear God, where do I start? Because I've heard people say, just listen. But that can feel vague. I start with this. God is trying to hide from you. I'm going to say that again. God is not trying to hide from you. If you want direction, begin with a relationship. That means prayer, yes, but also honesty. Not perfect words, not fancy words. Honest words like, God, I need help. I need wisdom. I don't know what I'm doing. And then you pair that with the time in the word. Because a lot of people want God's direction while staying far away from God. But, that's impossible, isn't it? Because you have to have a relationship with God in order to have that closeness. And then ask him the right questions. Where do I go from here? Give me a sense of direction. So you're saying the Bible is less like a rule book and more like a training in your ear. Exactly. It forms you, it corrects you, it comforts you, and it gives you filter, because not every thought is a message. Not every desire is a calling. But when you're grounded in scripture, it becomes easier to tell the difference between impulse and instruction. Let's talk about ministry, because not just talking faith and theory. You're coaching, you're serving, you're leading. What's the biggest misconception people have about ministry? That ministry is only what happens on a platform, or that it has to be looked at for a bigger matter. Ministry can be a phone call. Ministry can be an intercession. When no one sees it, ministry can be showing up consistently in a small place with a pure heart. And truthfully, sometimes your ministry is learning people to love people while God heals you. The last part is real, because a lot of people feel disqualified if they're still working on themselves. I'll say it like this. You don't need to be flawless, but you do not need to be submitted. You don't need to have it all together, but you do need to stay teachable. And you do need accountability. A God-led life is not a solo performance. It's obedience, community, and humility. Let's bring this into the perspective of being taught by a coach like myself, Coach Queen Lisa Ministry. So a coach, Queen Lisa, some people hear coaching and think it's all about strategy, goals and movement and productively. How do you blend coaching with ministry without turning it into a God-led, into a business plan? We'll say that again. How do we blend coaching with ministry without turning God into a business plan? That's such a good way to say it. Coaching can be powerful because it helps people take action, but ministry keeps you anchored. The difference is the source in God-led approach. You're not chasing success at the expense of your soul. You're not building an image. You're building an alignment. So what does alignment look like practically? Like if someone is building a ministry and starting a podcast or trying to serve others, what does alignment look like in a real decision? Alignment looks like asking better questions, not just, but will work. But is this mine to do or not? Just. Can I grow fast, but can I grow healthy? Not just. Will people like it, but will it honour God? And there's the big one. Do I have peace because God can stretch you? Yes, but he is not a God of confusion. Okay, I want to talk about the podcast aspect because you said, well, I said, this is a God-led podcast. Why podcast? Why not just social media posts and a weekly live stream? Because a podcast feels more like a table. A social media can feel like shouting through a crowd. But a podcast is someone choosing to invite you into their day, into their car, cooking, folding, laundry or walk, or becomes companionship and powerfully for a ministry. People are hungry for the truth that isn't a performative. And what do you think happens when someone listens? Like, what's the heartbeat? I want to listen to feel strengthened and seen. I want them to remember that God is still speaking and still restoring and still directing. And I want them to leave with something they can actually apply. Not hype, help, not pressure or perspective. Let's get honest. When you're trying to do something God-led, how do you handle doubt or delay? Or when you feel like you're doing everything right, but nothing is moving? First, you stop assuming. Delay means denial. Sometimes delay is a protection. Sometimes it's preparation. Sometimes it's God working on the foundation you can't see. And doubt doesn't automatically make you faithless. It makes you human. The question is, do you do it with? Do you isolate or spiral, or do you bring God into your workspace and console and ask questions? That word, wise counsel, matters because I see people tell everyone and everything and tell one thing. The word is wise, but right. Everybody doesn't need a microphone in their life, but you do need someone you can have a truthful and a love perspective. Someone who can pray and also challenges you, and a God-led life. Stay blessed, guys. Coach Queen Lisa's Ministries.